put the world in context.
Lots of questions coming into the newsroom from our viewers. We're going to bring in our town hall panel to get those answers. Juan Williams is a Fox News contributor. Ford O'Connell is chairman of the Civic Forum Political Action Committee. He was rural outreach director for the McCain presidential campaign. And Bob Cusack is the managing editor of The Hill. Bob, Ford, and Juan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Good to be with you, Jen.
All right, Ford, let's go ahead and start off with you. Carrie has a great question asking how accurate have poll numbers during the final week prior to election historically been compared to actual results?
Here's the deal. I think the current poll numbers are slightly off, whether they're public polls or internal polls. Pollsters have a lot to work on between now and 2012. The reason is primarily we have landlines versus cell phones. I think cell phones, which are predominantly used by younger folks and minorities, is going to play a bigger situation. We need to figure out where the balance comes, and the polls will be better tuned by 2012. Right now, I think in some cases they're slightly favoring Republicans.
Quickly, Juan, can you pick up on that as well? Because Anthony was asking what polls should we look at. Of course, we have to offer the disclaimer. You can say the Fox News Opinion Dynamics poll, Juan. But if there's any others that you particularly like, our viewers would love to hear it.
Yeah, I think Pew does a very good job. I think Gallup does a terrific job. Those are sort of mainstream polls that have a terrific track record behind them, Jenna.
All right, Juan, so here's another follow-up question for you. This one's coming from Shay Klein, and this one might get you into trouble. Asking this, is there a sense that Bill Clinton doesn't really want the Dems to win big so Hillary can beat Obama in 2012? What do you think, Juan?
No, at this point, I think it would mean all-out civil war within the Democratic ranks, and I think given the fact that Obama has the White House and control of the Democratic National Committee, it's unlikely that Hillary Clinton, even with Bill Clinton, could overcome that. So I think that she's now, and this is interesting, I think there's been a change in the Clinton mindset about 2016, that suddenly they think she won't be too old and that she could be the prime candidate.
Wow, that's interesting. Bob, do you have any thoughts on that, what Juan just said?
No, I agree with Juan. I think that Hillary Clinton could run in 2016. And Bill Clinton, I mean, his reputation was damaged after he attacked President Obama, then campaign candidate Obama. So President Clinton is now, I mean, he's loving it. He's have a resurgence of the savior coming into the South, where President Obama is not welcomed by a lot of Democratic candidates, but President Clinton is. And certainly down the road, who knows, Hillary Clinton could run again.
Oh, gosh, 2016, 2012, we just got to get through 2010, gentlemen. I mean, that's what's ahead of us. All right, so this is a great question, and get your thoughts on this, all of you, really quick, but we'll start off with Bob. Ann has this question, and it's a good one about fundraising and campaign finance. She says, why don't all the candidates take their money and pay off the national debt? $1 billion will go a long way. She's referring to the House races there. Then the candidates just give their name and background to the local newspaper and let us vote. What do you think about that issue, Bob? Just so much money going into these campaigns, and yet everyone's just talking about the debt. It seems a little counterintuitive.
Oh, that's true. I mean, it's an interesting idea, a bit pie in the sky, because it won't happen because donors then wouldn't give to their candidates. And some say, well, you know, there's more money spent in this country on potato chips than there is on campaigns. And obviously the money that's going into campaigns is only on the rise. We're breaking records this year. I'm sure we'll break records in 2012. But, you know, that idea is probably not going to happen anytime soon.
Wow, potato chips? What kind, I guess, is the next question.
More money is actually being spent on bottled water, too.
Oh, that's when you really put that in that context, it's unbelievable. Ford, do you just have a quick thought on that? We're going to have to run, but would like your thoughts as well on this issue.
Absolutely. I mean, just with the money in campaigns, it needs to be more transparent, but this is the system we have, and it's nothing new.
All right, Ford, thank you so much. Hang tight, guys. We got a lot more questions coming up, and we appreciate it so far. So John's next.
Pamela Beard wants to know, what would it take to make the federal government present a balanced budget each and every year? We'll be asking that of our panelists when our town hall panel returns.
And we had some breaking news on this election. Some new Reuters Ipsos polls has the Pennsylvania race, that race for the Senate seat, in a dead heat at 46% each, I should say, for the Republican Pat Toomey and the Democrat Joe Sestak. Just one of the races we're watching closely as the control for the Senate is up for grabs.
And let's get back to our new America's Asking Town Hall. You ask the questions. We try to get you the answers you need before Election Day. Let's bring our panelists back in. Fox News contributor Juan Williams, Civic Forum Chairman Ford O'Connell, and The Hill Managing Editor Bob Cusack. Here's a question from Dave Gustafson. Juan, he says, if the GOP takes over Congress, is it a lock that Boehner and McConnell are elected to leadership? He goes on to express some concerns about them as leaders for the Republican Party. What do you think, Juan?
Yeah, I think that John Boehner is the choice. I don't think right now that there's likely to be any substantive challenge. Now, it's interesting because you've got some young guns, if you will, in the Republican Party, people like Eric Cantor and others who have their own ideas. You may have read about, the pledge and other things. But right now, I think everyone is of a mind that John Boehner is the right person at this time, that he has done a good job, and that he deserves the opportunity to lead. And on the Senate side, I think some of the Tea Party people would have trouble. But if you think about it for a second, even, people who have expressed concern and have differences in his home state with Senator McConnell have said they would vote for him to be the majority leader.
Juan, let me hop in on that for 1 second. That question assumes that the GOP is going to take the Senate. I don't think they are right now because of the GOTV situation and the Democratic strongholds. With that said, I think the bigger question is who's going to be the Democratic majority leader when Harry Reid goes down? Is it going to be, Chuck Schumer or Dick Durbin? That right now is the main question, because right now the GOP is probably going to net 8 at best, depending on the size of this wave.
That's right, because Harry Reid is apparently in some trouble out in Las Vegas. We'll see what the actual results are on Election Day. Here's a question for you, Bob. I hope you can answer this. A woman, Julie in Las Vegas, writes, my husband and I voted on Saturday afternoon, early voting obviously. That evening, we received a call asking how we voted. Is it legal for the Board of Elections to give out such information to political parties? I'm guessing this wasn't a political party that was asking. It was probably a pollster. Wouldn't you say, Bob?
Probably, yes. We're in the silly season, so a lot of strange things happened, and also a lot of things, there's a lot of rumors and speculation about stories that happened. I had heard a story years ago about a campaign operative who was paying homeless people to go into wealthy neighborhoods to make the case for a candidate in the hopes that the wealthy voters would vote the other way. So we're getting into the area of strange things that happen, and some of them are true, and some of them are kind of urban legends.
Let me say one thing on that, Bob, real quick on that is, what else do you expect from a Soros-backed Secretary of State like Miller in Nevada? I mean, come on, he's obviously in the ring for Harry Reid. These things, if they are true, doesn't surprise me.
Well, sure, and they may be investigated, and obviously that's a race that it's gotten extremely nasty on both sides.
Oof.
It has, and I think the race is going to come down to the early voting on October 29th. If Angle is close, okay, or ahead, she's going to be the next senator of Nevada. If not, Harry Reid's going to join the lifetime Byrd Kennedy Senate Club.
Here's a question from Alex Diz. Is anyone going to lower the corporate tax? Juan, you want to take that one on?
I don't think so. I mean, clearly the big discussion post-election is about the Bush tax cuts and extending them. But in terms of the corporate tax rates, no, it would be small business, and we've already seen some of that enacted. But in terms of the big corporate taxes, no, I don't think so. In fact, there's pressure, as you know, coming out of the Wall Street reforms to make sure the corporations are paying their taxes.
Real quickly, a lot of our viewers are wondering whether after this fractious election season we will all come together again. Bob?
I think it's doubtful. I think there's a chance, because you look in the 1990s, and President Clinton with the Republican Congress passed welfare reform, passed a Balanced Budget Act in 1997. So it's possible. But right now, I think it's unlikely, especially when so many people, including us, are talking about 2012.
All right.
Well, with that said, though, if we don't come together, the bottom line is, and restore confidence in Main Street, everybody in 2012 is going to be out.
Ford O'Connell, Bob Cusack, Juan Williams, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It was a great group today and lots of good questions. We thank you so much for that. As we're looking at this election and what's important, as something comes up, it's the Latino vote. Critical to Democratic hopes of holding on to power. What new polls are saying about the chances for a big Latino push at the polls in key races. That story just ahead.